Capital is essentially the fuel for running a business, and the more the fuel, the speedier and better your business is bound to run. Do you agree with me? I hope you do, because our entire focus in this video will be the ways by which you can raise the limits of capital in your company. Hi, I am Tushar Bakshi, a startup advisor at Setindiabiz, where we provide tax, IPR and compliance services to companies across India. In this video, I will explain in detail: number 1, meaning and types of capital; number 2, need and ways of altering capital; number 3, process of altering capital; 4, ROC filing for intimation of altered capital; and finally, 5th, due dates and penalties for late filing of ROC intimation. We have a lot to discuss, so let us begin without any delay. What is share capital of a company? Capital is essentially the funds companies receive from investors and financial institutions, either for kickstarting their businesses or for expanding them to new heights. Among numerous ways of infusing capital in a company, investment through purchase of shares is the most prominent one, and the amount received by the company against such purchase is considered as its share capital. Now, share capital can be categorized into authorized capital and paid-up capital. Let me explain each of these one by one. Authorized capital of a company. Authorized capital is the maximum capital a company can receive according to the will of its members and promoters. Yes, you heard it right. Members and promoters are empowered to decide a maximum limit up to which their companies can potentially receive capital in the due course of their business, based on their needs, suitability and performance in the market. This decided limit is considered as the authorized capital of the company, and under no circumstance will the company be permitted receive an investment amount greater than this. Now hang on. Authorized capital is simply a limit and not the actual amount which is being paid to the company. So what is the actual amount being paid? It is next category of share capital, which is the paid-up capital of the company. Paid-up capital. I had mentioned earlier in this video that the most prominent way of infusing capital into companies is by purchasing its shares. Now, the amount received by the company when such shares are purchased is considered as its paid-up capital, or you can say its net worth. So, in other words, paid-up capital is the collective amount invested by the shareholders against the total shares sold by the company. I hope that by now you are clear about the types of share capital a company has. So, we can proceed to our detailed discussion on the need, ways, processes and compliances related to their alteration. What is the need to raise the share capital of the company? The answer to this question lies in the very concept of share capital. Let us consider the authorized capital first. This is the maximum limit up to which a company can receive investment, right? But what if the company is willing to seek an investment greater than this limit? Is that at all possible? Coming to our next question, paid-up capital is the total worth of shares already sold by a company. If this is fixed, does that mean the company will never be able to sell more shares than what it has already sold? These questions needed to be answered. You see, businesses are dynamic entities subject to consistent growth and expansion. Their positions in the markets are bound to change frequently, and so are their potential to attract investors. In this scenario, capping the very limits of investment is both irrational and undesirable. On the contrary, we need to explore more and more ways by which we can flexibly change these limits anytime and to any amount we want. Thankfully, the Companies Act provides such ways by which we can change both the authorized and paid-up capital of a company. But first, we will have to understand what modifications we can bring while making such changes. So what are the ways of changing share capital of a company? Section 61 of the Companies Act lays down provisions for changing the share capital of a company in the following ways. Number 1. By raising the amount fixed as authorized capital or by issuing and selling new shares to raise the paid-up capital. Number 2. By consolidating or dividing all or any of the company's existing shares into shares of larger amount. 3. By converting all or any of the company's existing shares into stocks. 4th, by subdividing the existing shares into shares of smaller amounts such that the paid and unpaid proportions of these shares remains unchanged. And finally, 5th, by cancelling such subscribed shares for which absolutely no amount has been paid. This section also makes it clear that none of these modifications or changes can reduce the already existing limits of authorized or paid-up capital, which means that these limits can either be raised or can remain unchanged after these changes have been effected. Now that you know what qualifies as change in share capital of a company, we will continue our discussion with the process of such change. How to change the share capital of a company? To change the share capital of a company, you need to follow certain very quick and simple steps. Whenever you decide to change the share capital of a company, be it the authorized capital or the paid-up capital, the very first step to check if the Articles of Association or the AOA contains the process of such change. You see, the AOA is a legal document of the company which contains all the rules and regulations of its internal management, including the procedure to change the share capital. So, if at all the company is looking to change its share capital, it cannot follow any procedure other than the procedure mentioned in the AOA. If the AOA does not contain any procedure beforehand, it will have to be amended to include such a procedure first. After ensuring that the AOA contains the provisions for altering the share capital of the company, a meeting of board directors will have to be called. In this meeting, the board will first approve the decision to change the share capital and then will fix the time, date and venue for calling an extraordinary general meeting of shareholders to further the process. Accordingly, the next step would be to hold a general meeting. Here, the shareholders will pass an ordinary resolution to approve the changed share capital and adopt the altered Memorandum of Association, that is MOA. Once the resolution is passed, the only step remaining is to intimate the Registrar of Companies about the change in share capital. So, let us discuss the process of doing so. How to intimate the ROC about change in share capital of the company? After the company has passed the resolution to effect a change its share capital, it will have to file an intimation to the Registrar of Companies in Form SH-7. If the change was effected in authorized capital, and in Form PAS-3 if the change was effected in paid-up share capital. Both these forms are available in their digital formats on the website of Ministry of Corporate Affairs. You can log into the website and download these forms from the MCA Services section in the menu. After this, you are required to fill in details like the company's SIN, name and registered address, the purpose of filling the form, the details of the changes made in share capital and the details of stamp duty payment on this form. The following step would be to upload the necessary attachments, which we will discuss in a few minutes. Once all the details are filled and documents attached, the form must be signed using the digital signature certificate of the signatory authorized by the Board of Directors for this purpose. It is usually any one of the company's directors or its CEO or CFO. If the signatory is a director, he will have to submit his DIN, else he can submit his PAN. This will complete your form and make it ready for submission. You can return back to the MCA website and upload the form with the prescribed application fees. Before we end the process, let me list all the necessary attachments for forms SH-7 and PAS-3. So what are the documents required for the ROC intimation of change in share capital? The necessary attachments for filing SH-7 and PAS-3 would include: Number 1. Notice of the Extraordinary General Meeting. Second, copies of altered MOA and AOA applicable only in case of SH-7 form. Fourth, complete list of new shareholders applicable only in case of PAS-3 form. And fifth, valuation report of the newly allotted shares applicable only in case of PAS-3 form. So with this, we finally complete our discussion on the process of intimating ROC about the change in share capital of a company. But do we know when such intimation is to be sent? So what are the due dates for filing forms such as SH-7 and PAS-3? Form SH-7 for change in authorized capital has to be filed within 30 days from the date of passing of ordinary resolution affecting such change. So if this due date is missed, the company's default will be penalized with a fine not less than rupees 5 lakhs, extendable to rupees 25 lakhs. Also, every defaulting officer will be penalized with a fine not less than rupees 1 lakh, extendable up to rupees 5 lakh. And as far as Form PAS-3 is concerned, the due date for its filing depends on the method of allotment of new shares. If new shares are allotted publicly, then PAS-3 must be filed within 30 days. And if they are allotted through private placement, then PAS-3 must be filed within 15 days from the date of such allotment. If this due date is missed, then penalties will be imposed on the defaulting company based on the number of days of delay and the normal fees for filing PAS-3. We have now reached the end of this video. Hopefully, we have managed to explain every aspect of changing a company's share capital to you. But if you still have any queries left, feel free to ask us in the comments or directly talk to our expert startup advisors. The contact details are given in the description. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button, share and subscribe to our channel for more informative content ahead. Do not forget to hit the notification bell so every time we upload a new video, you are the first one to get notified. Thanks for watching. Watch our other videos as well.